Okay, let's talk about this. Wuthering Waves, the dev team is insane. Okay, and I'm in the best way possible. They just released announcement on 1.0 version and future adjustments. Okay, so we're gonna talk about them a little bit and maybe emphasize some points that perhaps other dev teams might want to look at. I'm talking about all gacha games here. Okay? Because, people gotta try for your time nowadays. You know what I mean? So, actually caring about the game you put out is good. And with live service games, you are always going to have issues on the initial version. Launch, specifically, but even with versions that come out. I can't tell you the number of times that Fire Emblem Heroes, for example, has had some sort of description error in a skill or a weapon or something, and there's no compensation. They're like, oh yeah, we'll fix it in the next main patch. Have fun for 4 weeks, or if there's a bug in Genshin, they're like, actually, it's a feature. You're welcome. But here, they are addressing us directly, and they're talking to us, and they're telling us what they're doing with their game. And they're letting us know that, yes, they do in fact get all of the feedback, and they are listening, and they are doing their best. Because I believe this is the first simultaneous launch that Kuro has done. I think before they've localized like a year after the fact or something like that. And they kind of have a monumental titan on their hands, to be honest. So I personally am cutting them a little slack because I see the response and the give and take that we're getting from them. And this is huge. Okay, they talk about a lot of stuff. I've gone through, I have notes, I have the TLDR. Okay, so don't worry. We're going to go through it very briefly. So basically, they start off by saying, like, this is our first fully independent developed and globally published game for Kuro. Right, like I said, they have other games, but I think if they did localize them, it came after the fact, like a year or so later. So, it's pretty easy to fix bugs and stuff a year after the fact before you launch it to a different region. You know what I mean? So they start off by talking about a couple things. First off was the ecosystem. The TLDR here is the ecosystem feels grindy and lacks storage. So in 1.0, we are getting an Echo Material 2x event. All right. And in 1.1, they are reducing shell credits required to progress echoes. They are removing the reward cutscene for Tacit Field. And they are increasing the yield for Echo and Echo development items. So, already handling that. And 1.1 will happen sooner than you expect. We'll talk about that in a second. Additionally, they will be implementing a wave plate storage system in the future. They didn't quite give us a direct timeline on that, but I assume it would be by 1.2 at this rate. Next up, they started talking about the reward system error for recycling echoes. That's this section up here. The amount of shell credits received when recycling developed echoes was wrong, and they fixed it in an emergency patch that same night. But because their communication was not great, player experience suffered, yada yada. So as compensation, okay, we're getting 1 million shell credits, all players, not just those affected, on the 10th of June. And then on the 3rd of June, we are receiving 20 crystal solvents, which one of those is equal to 60 wave plates. So, you can play the game more. And maybe go grind a little more efficiently now that that issue is resolved. They also talked about the weapon description, and this one hits very close to home. Because we've had trailers roll out in Fire Emblem Heroes, brief example, where the skill description is not what it was supposed to be, uh, or there's an error in the way that certain mechanics interact with other things, and they're just like, oh yeah, our bad. We'll get you next patch. Like no emergency fix, no compensation, nothing. Just we know it's cool. Like okay, all right. Thank you, bro. Which, by the way, they also did a YouTube community post, which I really appreciate because nobody really uses community posts, and that's where I get most of my news from stuff I follow. So, from what that's worth, that's a big dub for me. Anyway, for the 5-star weapon description, it's basically the limited weapon, Gion's weapon. There was a localization issue that gave an incorrect description. They fixed it immediately, as soon as they were aware, with a hot fix, right? And because of that, all players on June 3rd are now going to be receiving 5 Forging Tides, which is the limited weapon banner specific currency stuff that you can use. So that's good. Weapon banner summons are nice, I guess, if you want to roll for those. Maybe somebody gets released that you really like, there's a character you really like, and you want their best in slot. Hang on to them. That's what I'm gonna do. I have no intention of using them anytime soon, but it's good to have them. They talk about version updates. Okay, and this one was kind of a big one. The main points here are that the Overdash Club is bad. All right, and it is. I looked at Overdash Club as like, okay, so the game is new, and we don't want to put you through another tutorial, so here's a fun event that gives you rewards for basically learning the mechanics of like the grapple and what these little bouncy pads do, or the runway strips, and here's all the cool aerial stuff that you can do. I figured it was just that. I wasn't taking it seriously as an event, but a lot of people complained. And so now they will be redesigning rules and reward schemes. That's a key feature for future events. The compensation for this is that on June 13th, they're adding a new event, Wuthering Exploration, that will include 800 Astrite, Morphable Elite Echo 1, and a Morphable Elite Echo 2, a Premium Tuner, and Premium Sealed Tube for all of your material needs. So, again, pretty above and beyond. Frankly, I was not taking that event that seriously. I just thought it was like a juiced up tutorial. So, for what that's worth. But, they're committed to making events better in the future, and I think that is good. Frankly, there's so much going on in the game, I wasn't really paying attention to events. I remember the launch event for Genshin where it, like, cost you resin to actually participate, and it's like, dude, my character's level 20, I gotta spend that resin somewhere else. And it was literally just putting, like, some colored item thing in a bin or a box, or I don't remember it that well, but it wasn't anything spectacular. And then the connections on servers were anyway, neither here nor there. Future version updates timeline. This is big. The short note is advancing the release of slated content for 1.0. They are bringing content that was supposed to come mid 1.0 sooner. And the 1.1 update will happen on June 28th now, for what that's worth. So on June 6th, which is this week, we're getting the Yinland story, the Yinland banner, and a challenge event, Alloy Smelt, that will now have more spin-off events and features. So basically you're going to have an extra week of Yinland for the most part. And I think the limited banners are actually going to overlap, which is something. So if you want to get Gian and Yinlin together, double banner, crazy. Uh, you can do that. On the 28th of June, which will be the new 1.1 update, they're going to be adding the Mount Firmament new area, as well as Resonators Jinshi and Changli, as well as Boss Jue. I don't know what that means, but it's there if you want to know about it. And then on the 3rd of June, which should be like in a day or two, we're getting 10 Resident Tides. Every player is getting 10 Resident or Radiant Tides, and that's the limited character summon material. I mean, I'll be forthcoming. I have the daily pass and the patch battle pass. I don't know if I'm ever gonna spend actual money in this game where it's like just buying like gem packs. You know what I mean? I would, for what it's worth, because I think I feel very comfortable about a game that listens to its players this consistently. But I don't know that I'll ever have to. Genuinely, I don't know that I'll ever have to. Next up, we're talking about combat and control experience and the optimization of such. This one isn't as sexy, right? Because there's not like a bunch of rewards and stuff. But of one of two issues I've had in this game, one of which was just the launcher wasn't updating, but I just had to refresh assets. Not a big deal. The second one was the auto-targeting. Good lord. Good lord, that's rough. But, as they talk about in this section, auto-aiming, lock-on controls, key remapping, all of that feels really bad. They have already disabled combat camera correction on PC by default. They have already optimized aggro ranges for certain bosses. They will be introducing disengagement warning features, so if a boss is too far out of its initial range, which, you know, they kind of respawn again with full HP, which I've had happen with a couple open world games before, and my lord does it feel bad to be on like that last 10% health, and then they just despawn and respawn full. Oh god, feels really bad. But they're aware of that. They're working on that. They're going to give you a warning if it's going to happen. They have already expanded the anti-ghost touch area around buttons on mobile and will introduce future mobile control optimizations in the future. They have custom key binding feature that will be unlocked at Union Level 2 now, starting in 1.1. They will be introducing a player tutorial for custom key binding on keyboard, mouse, and controller. And then 1.1 will remap chat to map. Thank God. On controller. As well as give you the Y-axis invert option. And then future versions will support controller mode on mobile, which is an issue a friend of mine had specifically. Which felt really bad, because I was really looking forward to playing with him on launch, and it was... I don't know how mobile players do it, alright? All of you cell phone warriors out there. I don't know how you play games like this, or Genshin, right? Star Rail is feasible, in my opinion, but like, man, does it feel bad to play that on an iPad, man? I don't know how you do it with touchscreen controls, like, legitimately. But, you know, you're God's chosen people, so keep going. keep doing what you're doing, I guess. But if you want to hook up a controller to that, that'll be happening, I assume, around 1.2 at that point. And then we've also got some other content stuff that they've heard probably less about, but still some. They are already updating weekly purchase limits for certain store items. Evidently, if you bought too much flour, like, you could just max out flour and just spend all of your credits on that. I don't know why you're clicking around so willy-nilly, but hey, That's, that's up to you, gamer. So some people have probably had an issue with that, I imagine. They're just overly excitable. Already addressed certain audio and sound effect bugs. They have already fixed crash issues on certain devices. And then additionally, the depths of elusive realm. In 1.1, they're letting people know that it's going to include more playable characters, new challenges, new mechanics, new buffs, which I think was always something that was going to happen. It's like this version's simulated universe, if you will. I mean, it's at launch, right? They have so much of the game already. I look at this as like, okay, limitations sometimes is a good thing at launch for me personally, because I feel less overwhelmed by the amount of stuff that I have to do. But I also recognize that by limiting things on the initial run, it can seem like, well, this is how it's always going to be forever. And that's not a good future state game experience, right? So it's good that they are at least talking to us and letting us know that they're aware of this. It's a cognizant thing, and they will be fixing it. That's all I really want out of a dev team of a game that I play that is specifically live service, because those games rarely end. And if I'm going to invest my time in it, and I like to know that they are in it with us. It's not like a physical game that they release and then they sell 60 million copies or whatever, and then they're just, well, thank you for the memories, and then they're just out, which I also love. I love a complete gaming experience in one singular package, and I play those, especially when I'm on Gacha Burnout, But if I'm going to be logging in daily, I want to know that the dev team's also open to hearing from me daily, and all players, right? That's what we should be aiming for in the year 2024, all right? Like, straight up. There is no more COVID buff for games and socials and things, okay? Like, nobody's stuck in home anymore, right? Money, still tight. You gotta limit your time and resources to actual stuff that you appreciate and that you like, right? And it's good that the developers of those games recognize that and want to fight for your attention as well as your support. And so I'm very happy about this. This gives me a lot of hope for the future of this game, and I am glad to continue supporting it. So that's just a brief update. Another Wuthering Waves W. Despite a semi-rough launch, I would say. But again, first one they've done in this manner. And it had a lot of eyes on it. Anytime someone or something compares you to a juggernaut in the space that is Genshin Impact, you're going to have a lot more attention. And I think, all things considered, size, budget, all of that, I think that they're handling it pretty well overall, But that's just me. That's how I'm feeling about this. Let me know if you have any thoughts in the comments. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.